You don't see it on your bank statement. It never shows up on your credit report. No app tracks it. No advisor warns you about it. And yet, by the time the average middle-class worker reaches their 40s, this invisible cost has quietly drained something close to $50,000 from their life. Not spent, not invested, just lost. It happens slowly, silently, systematically, and most people never count it. Picture two co-workers, same age, same city, same salary. They start their careers within months of each other. Both are responsible, both avoid reckless debt, both think they're doing okay. Fast forward 20 years. One has a solid investment portfolio, home equity, and optionality, the ability to change jobs, take risks, breathe. The other feels permanently behind, saving but never catching up, working but never building momentum. No financial disaster separated them. No market crash ruined one but not the other. The difference came from something far less traumatic and far more common: invisible money leakage. The kind you don't feel day to day, the kind that compounds quietly in the background. Here's where the 50,000 begins. Not in stocks, not in real estate, but in time. Specifically, delayed investing. Most middle-class earners don't begin serious investing when they start earning. They wait. They wait until the job feels stable, until the wedding is paid for, until the first child arrives, until the second promotion. Reasonable decisions, emotionally logical, financially expensive. Because the market doesn't just reward how much you invest, it rewards when. Let's simplify the math. Imagine someone invests $300 a month starting at age 25. Nothing aggressive, just disciplined. Assume a modest long-term return of 8% annually. By age 45, they'd invested $72,000 of their own money. But the portfolio value isn't $72,000. It's closer to $177,000 because time did most of the work. Now compare that to someone who waits until age 35 to start the exact same investment. Same $300 a month, same return, same discipline. By age 45, they've invested $36,000, and the portfolio value? Roughly $66,000. The difference between the two investors is over $110,000. But here's the part most people miss. Only about half that gap comes from contributions. The rest comes from lost compounding time. 10 years of delay didn't just postpone growth, it erased it. If you isolate just the compounding difference created in that decade, you land in the range of $40,000 to $60,000, the invisible 50,000, money that was never spent, but never existed either. And the delay rarely feels like a mistake while it's happening, because the money goes somewhere visible instead. Lifestyle upgrades, better apartments, car EMIs, destination weddings, premium phones every 2 years, subscriptions no one audits. None catastrophic individually, but together they create what economists call consumption lock-in. You get used to spending at a certain level before building assets at that level, so investing feels like sacrifice instead of default behavior. Ironically, income growth makes this worse, because raises often get absorbed by lifestyle inflation long before they reach investments. A 20% salary hike, a 15% expense increase, a 5% actual wealth increase, if that. The system nudges you to look wealthier before you become wealthier. There's also a structural layer most people underestimate: taxes. Not just how much you pay, but when you start optimizing them. Early investors use tax-advantaged vehicles sooner: retirement accounts, equity tax treatment, employer matches. Someone who delays investing doesn't just lose market returns, they lose tax efficiency years, which quietly widens the wealth gap further. Again, invisible. No bill arrives labeled missed tax compounding, $18,400, but the math accumulates anyway. Then comes the irony. The middle class is often the most disciplined saving group, but the least efficient compounding group. They save in low-yield instruments first: fixed deposits, savings accounts, insurance-linked products. Safe, predictable, comfortable. But historically, these vehicles often return near or below inflation after tax, which means purchasing power barely grows. So while money feels saved, wealth isn't actually compounding. In some years, it's quietly shrinking in real terms. This creates the illusion of financial responsibility without the outcome of financial acceleration. Zoom out further, and the invisible 50,000 isn't just personal, it's systemic. Entire economies rely on middle-class consumption staying high and investment participation starting late, because consumption drives GDP. Spending is visible growth. Investing is delayed gratification. So culturally and commercially, spending gets celebrated first. Upgrade your life. Reward yourself. You deserve it. You rarely hear, front-load your compounding window. Not because it's wrong, because it's less profitable for everyone except you. Now layer inflation on top. When you delay investing, you're not standing still, you're moving backward in real value. If inflation averages 5 to 6%, money sitting idle loses nearly half its purchasing power over 12 to 14 years. So the decade many people wait before investing is also the decade their saved cash erodes fastest, which widens the invisible loss even more. Not just missed gains, but silent decay. At this point, the 50,000 figure stops looking dramatic. If anything, it starts looking conservative, because for higher earners, where longer delays, the invisible loss easily crosses 6 figures, all without a single financial mistake. No scams, no crashes, no reckless bets, just postponed participation. And this is where hype and reality diverge. Personal finance media often frames wealth gaps around extreme behaviors: day trading losses, crypto collapses, luxury overspending. But most middle-class wealth leakage doesn't come from extremes. It comes from ordinary timing decisions. Waiting to start. Starting too small. Pausing too often. The quiet gaps matter more than the loud ones, because they compound longer. So we arrive at an uncomfortable realization. The biggest wealth cost for many middle-class households isn't what they buy, it's when they begin. Time, not income, is the dominant variable early on. But time is the one resource people assume they have plenty of, right until they don't. And maybe the strangest part of all this is psychological. If someone loses $50,000 in the stock market, it feels catastrophic, memorable, painful, urgent. But if someone never earns an extra $50,000 because they started investing 10 years late, it feels like nothing happened. No alarm, no regret spike, no visible loss, just a future that's slightly tighter than it could have been. Invisible losses rarely trigger visible reactions, which is why they persist across generations. So the next time someone says, "I'll start investing seriously later," the real translation isn't about discipline, it's about math. Because every year of delay isn't neutral, it's subtractive, quietly carving away at a number no one tracks, but everyone eventually feels. And the unsettling question isn't whether the invisible 50,000 exists, it's how much larger it becomes by the time people finally notice it was there.